There's a villain in the story. There's a villain in the story. There's a villain in the story. He ain't got no need for the glory.
Track 7, Hoop Dreams. I didn't play organized basketball until I made the 8th grade traveling team. Other than basketball camps, lightning, or horse, basketball was a solo activity for me. I'd back down imaginary defenders into the paint, where I'd get fouled as I threw up a heavily contested shot with seconds left on the clock. My team was always down by 2 points, and it was up to me to make my free throws to win the game. I practiced Tim Hardaway's killer crossover, Jordan's signature fadeaway mid-range jumper, and Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon's dream shake to ready myself for the journey down the road that would eventually lead to the NBA. I quit the 8th grade traveling team a few practices into the season. We only practiced twice a week, but half of those practices were held in a gym of a school across town. It felt as if I'd be a burden to asking one of my new teammates to show for me each week, and I knew it would be a burden for my dad to put in parenting grunt work on the days he didn't have custody of me. I'd usually ask my mom to ask him for the things I really wanted prior to that, and she'd usually wear him down with little resistance. But I could always feel the reluctance of a sacrifice and a sense of him having someplace that he'd rather be. By that point in my 13-year-old life, I was just about over waiting on my dad to find time for me, and I had too much young pride to ask for it. I'd also started to lose interest in an NBA career after Jordan retired for the second time. I followed his lead in giving baseball and movies a go, however, I couldn't stay away from the game either. I tried out for and made the freshman team in 9th grade, but again, quit shortly thereafter. I wouldn't say I was peer pressured into trying out, but I definitely only went to the tryout because some of my friends were. And being called a waste of height and not using my 6'1" frame to play basketball got to me a little bit over my hiatus from hoops. I grew up in Duluth, Minnesota, a little city on a hill positioned at the nose of Lake Superior and made of several neighborhoods with the pride of little towns all their own. I attended Lincoln Park School from grades 1 through 8. It's on the west end of town, but not to be confused with West Duluth, which is further west, but not as far west as Riverside or Morgan Park, who feel they are their own cities altogether. All of the kids that lived in Lincoln Park and further west attended high school at Denfeld. My mother and I would be moving to Central High School District at some point, so I enrolled as a Trojan rather than a Hunter my freshman year. I had friends outside of school that went to Central, but only one of them made the team with me, Seth Green. Not the comedic actor you may be thinking of, but a funny motherfucker just the same. Seth and I first met in Sunday school at Christ Temple African American Apostolic Church around age 4. It was a weekly tradition for one of the older kids to lock the Sunday school door from the inside so we could commence in Royal Rumble melee after class. After church whoopings became a Sunday ritual as well, but worth it. Most of the church elders were related to Seth, so Christ Temple was his home sanctuary. The maternal side of my family were all members of the congregation as well. However, I only attended sporadically after Saturday night sleepovers at my Aunt Trina's house with my cousins and grandma. My mother and I hopped from church to church all over town. Some of them were one-week singing gigs my mom performed for whatever the church felt moved to toss in her passing of the collection plate. Although they could have cut the length of service in half, I preferred the energy of Christ Temple, and I miss my Sunday school friends. After Seth and I made the team, he quit halfway through his penance of 100 push-ups assigned to him and another one of our teammates by the freshman coach for being comedians. They were always joking around on that show White Shadow, so I didn't see what the big deal was. But Coach Smith didn't appreciate the fuckery. I watched him play ball for UMD growing up. He was coached hard and without sympathy, so he flexed his whistleblowing muscles in the same fashion. Perhaps if the movie Coach Carter had been made just a few years earlier, I would have understood why he pushed us so hard. During my last practice, we ran until I felt like I had to throw up. When I told this to the coach, he said, "Okay, go over in the corner and throw up, then get back in line and keep running." I genuinely felt as if I thought I was going to throw up, but I also wanted to break from running killers, and the walk to the bathroom would have bought me at least 5 minutes. Well, to my exhausted dismay, the urge to purge dissipated immediately, and I had no other option but to keep running. Well, I ghosted the team on my way to practice the next day to hang out with Seth and some other friends at a rec center down the hill from school. We'll see you next time for the conclusion of Ordinary World Part A with Track 8, The Lost Boys.
There's a villain in the story. There's a villain in the story. There's a villain in the story. He ain't got no need for the glory.
Thank you for tuning in to Adult Storytime. You could have been anywhere else in the World Wide Web today, and you were here with me. I appreciate that. If you enjoyed today's installment of Adult Storytime, head over to adultstorytime.net to listen to the rest of this episode, along with the rest of the first season of How to Write a Novel in 5 Years, A Hero's Journey. It's 5 episodes set to the smooth sounds of Adam Herman and the Slamming Doors. And while you're there, check out the fictional audio series, Pete and Gwendolyn Grew Up. Another 5 episodes, still set to the smooth sounds of the Slamming Doors. Now before you click over to adultstorytime.net, don't forget to feed that almighty algorithm with a like, follow, subscribe, and smash that old notification button so you know when I'm coming at you. Namaste, bitches.